Hi guys, it's Sukrit from STEMcoder, and today I'll be teaching you how to find the area and the perimeter of a trapezoid. So a trapezoid is a relatively simple shape. Two opposite sides have to be parallel to each other, that's all. So there's several types of trapezoids. Because these two sides don't have to be parallel to each other, you can have trapezoids that look like this, trapezoids that look like this, and trapezoids that look like this. See, in all three of these trapezoids, the top and bottom lines are parallel to each other. So to find the perimeter of a trapezoid, you simply have to add up all four of these sides. So let me label these two sides really quick. So we call the parallel sides the bases of the trapezoid, and the other two we simply call them sides. So to find the perimeter of trapezoid, it's simply going to be side 1 plus side 2 plus base 1 plus base 2. So as you can see, you're simply just adding up 1, 2, 3, 4, just adding up all the sides. Pretty simple. Kind of like how you find the perimeter of a rectangle or a triangle. Let's move on to area now. So you see, I've drawn this line over here, and I'm going to call this the midway line. The midway line. That's because this line is found exactly halfway in between base number 1 and base number 2. So by that I mean that this distance over here, the distance between the midway line and base number 2, and this distance, the distance between the midway line and base number 1, are equal to each other. These two are equal to each other. So now let's calculate the area. Ready for this formula? I'm going to write down the formula and explain exactly why it's so. But the area of a trapezoid is going to be equal to the midway line times the height. So now let's see why that is. I'll use a different color marker, a pink marker, to show you exactly why the area of this whole trapezoid is simply equal to the midway line multiplied by the height. And the height is simply the distance between the bottom base and the top base, the distance between the two bases. So I'm going to draw a rectangle like this. You see this rectangle? So now how is this rectangle over here? This whole portion over here, which I'm going to highlight right now in green, this whole thing in here is the common area between the rectangle I drew and the trapezoid that I drew. So you see this weird like house-shaped figure is the overlapping area between the trapezoid and the rectangle. So now what else is left outside this green area? There's these two triangles over here, which these two triangles over here, which are the parts of the trapezoid which are outside the pink rectangle, and these things over here, parts of the pink rectangle which are outside the trapezoid. However, here's some math magic for you. These small triangles over here fit perfectly into these small triangles. So I know it doesn't look like that because this figure is not to scale, but this area over here is equal to this area over here. So now what does that mean? That means if you move these two triangles into here, that means that the rectangle and the trapezoid perfectly overlap. So now let me tell you, if two figures perfectly overlap, that means their areas are equal. That means if I have a bucket of paint, I'll have to use the same amount of paint to paint both the rectangle and the trapezoid. They have the exact same area. So you see the rectangle, which is formed by the midway line and the height. So the length is the midway line, the height is this height, the width is this height over here. That area is equal to the area of my trapezoid. So let's do some practice problems to see how this all works. So I have this trapezoid over here. So this top is 10, bottom is 20, and this height is 15. Let's just say. So how do I find the area of this trapezoid? I need to find the length of the midway line, right? Well, keep in mind that the midway line is simply going to be the average of base 1 and base 2. So that means if base 1 is 20, base 2 is 10, what is the average of 20 and 10? It's 15. So now that you see it in this example, let's make this formula a bit more easy to understand. So this is simply equal to the base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2 times the height. So you see over here, the midway line is equal to the two bases divided by 2 times the height. And this over here, you're simply taking the average of the two bases. So that means if base 1 is 10, base 2 is 20, the midway line is 15. Because try to think about it this way, the length of the midway line is going to be halfway in between the length of the base 1 and length of base 2. So let's do this. So it's going to be equal to base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2 times height. So the height is 15, base 1 is 20, base 2 is 10. So it's going to be equal to 20 plus 10 over 2 times 15. By the way, this is in parentheses, so you must do this first to make that clear. So remember, in the order of operations, we do the stuff in the parentheses first. So that's equal to 30 divided by 2 times 15. And that's equal to 15 times 15. Because remember, if you have only multiplication and division, it's just left to right. And 15 times 15 is equal to 225. I know this is a big multiplication, so you can just use a calculator for that. So I hope this video was helpful. As you can see, the area of trapezoid is slightly more complicated than some of the other shapes we've done, but if you know the bottom and the top base, which is basically the parallel lines, the lengths of the parallel lines, you simply find the average of those two lengths, multiply by the height, and you will find the area of the trapezoid. I hope this video was helpful. Feel free to do some of the practice problems on our website to master your skills, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson.